After I died, my twin brother started pretending to be me, staying by my wife's side. He had my ashes forged into a ring and slid it on her finger. His eyes, dark and unreadable, watched her as he asked, "Are you really going to leave me?" She slapped him, her voice dripping with contempt. "The only way I'm not divorcing you is if you drop dead." But she didn't know. I was already dead, and the man standing before her, now that he had lost me, was about to become a monster. A month earlier, at the hospital, I was being wheeled out of the operating room. "The surgery bought you 3 more months. Focus on your recovery," my doctor said, closing my chart and handing it to me. I stared at the word cancer, wondering how I was going to tell my wife and my brother. It was time to pay the bill. Weak, I leaned against the wall, shuffling unsteadily down the hallway outside my room. "Mark, I'm 3 months along." A familiar female voice cut through the hospital home. "Really? You just found out and you're that far along?" A man's voice replied. I slowly lifted my head. Chloe, my wife, and Mark Peterson, my former subordinate, froze in front of me. "What a buzzkill," Chloe sneered. "Well, now that you know, let's get this divorce over with." "Dude, you don't want to wear those horns for too long," Mark added, blowing a plume of cigarette smoke directly in my face. It was meant to sicken me. Rage tore through me, but all I could manage was a weak whisper. "I'll die before I let you two have that." Chloe's hand cracked across my face. "Still playing the martyr while living off my paycheck? Have you gotten addicted to it?" The post-op pain in my head exploded. A ringing filled my ears, and my legs gave out. I collapsed uncontrollably to my knees. The humiliation was absolute. A grown man, who should have been proud, kneeling before these 2 pieces of trash. My body was a dead weight, but I forced every last bit of strength into a ragged cry. "Nurse! Help me!" A nurse rushed over. Who? Who called?" "Me." Chloe immediately clutched her stomach, her face contorted in pain. "It's the baby. I need help." The nurse hesitated, looking at me. "But this patient looks much worse." Chloe shot me a venomous glance. "He's faking it to avoid the divorce. Wasting medical resources." The nurse reached for me, but Chloe blocked her path. "The baby comes first. If anything happens to my child because you didn't help me, you'll be the first person I file a complaint against." I watched, helpless, as she dragged the nurse away, with Mark smirking as they left. A surge of blood rushed to my head. My vision went black. I died right there, on the floor of the hospital corridor. As I sank into darkness, the fury in my soul still raged. I won't accept this. I won't accept this. My short life had been spent trying to please everyone, especially Chloe. And in the end, she was the one who killed me. When I opened my eyes again, I was a spirit, watching my own body being pushed into the crematorium furnace. Soon, I was nothing but ash. "Brother, I'm holding your ashes. Can you feel the warmth?" Caleb sat numbly in the workshop, an urn in his hands. "I'm sorry, I can't feel anything. What I'm even more sorry about is that now, he has no one left. And he's not well. He's a monster forged in trauma. When he was 4, he watched our father beat our mother. He rushed in and bit a chunk of flesh from our father's neck. In return, our father slashed him with a knife, then stabbed our mother to death as she shielded him. I dragged my brother out of that house, and we never went back. We became homeless, then wards of the state shuffled into a group home where we had only each other. Caleb was always kept in the darkest corners of the system, hidden away. To protect him, to get him enough to eat, I learned to please everyone. I made toys for the younger kids, fixed things for the staff. I became a master of wood and metal. While I was older, I studied and sold my crafts at street fairs. I saved enough to buy this small workshop, a place where I could hide Caleb away from the world. No one else on Earth even knew he existed. Without me, how would he survive? My spectral eyes welled with tears as I watched Caleb press his face against the urn. "You always did everything yourself. Never told me anything," he whispered. "It was my turn to protect you." The next second, he stood up, opened the urn, and scooped out a handful of my ashes. "It's okay. Alive, dead, it doesn't matter. As long as you're with me, you can be anything." He pulled out my toolbox and began to work. In the past, whenever his rage surfaced, I would tinker with these tools, making him little things to calm him down. He would grow quiet and watch me. Now, The TV behind him played the security footage from the hospital on a loop, showing my collapse and death. He murmured to himself, "Brother, let me finish what you started." A chill ran down my spine. Caleb worked for days and nights on end, until he collapsed from exhaustion. I watched him, my heart aching as I reached out, my hand passing right through him. But then his eyes snapped open. He grabbed a pair of scissors and sheared off his long, matted hair. He showered with my body wash, then put on my clothes and stood before the mirror. The haggard face staring back was a perfect double of my own at the moment of my death. We were identical. He opened the door and walked out. In 30 years, you could count the number of times he'd left this place on one hand. Yet he walked straight to the house I shared with Chloe. He used my key, opened the door, and stepped inside. Chloe was humming a lullaby to her unborn child. She glanced up at him. Panic seized me. After graduation, I had hidden Caleb away and started working at X-Corp. The year I was promoted to manager, I ran into Chloe again, the girl I'd had a crush on back in the group home. Back then, the toys I secretly made for Caleb were always being snatched by the other kids. I would just smile placatingly. "Give it back." Chloe, her hair in pigtails, would shout. The bully would startle, drop the toy, and run. "I'm not going to help you next time, Ethan," she'd say. But she always did. The next time, and the time after that, and the time after that. It was the first time a girl had ever stood up for me. I fell for her hard. But Caleb, his mental state of fragile tightrope, was a constant reminder that at that age, with nothing to my name, I couldn't afford to dream of more. When I saw her again at the company, I did everything I could to help her get established, personally mentoring her until she became the assistant manager. At a promotion party, I had too much to drink. Chloe wrapped her arms around me from behind. "Ethan," she whispered, "marry me." I was completely lost in her. At the time, I would have done anything. After we got the marriage license, I told Caleb, "You have a sister-in-law." "What?" Veins bulged on his neck. "I'll kill her." He grabbed a hatchet and lunged for the door. I blocked his path. "Move." His eyes were bloodshot. "Brother, how could you have someone else? You're only ever supposed to look at me." He pressed the hatchet blade against my throat. My own anger flared. For all these years, I've just wanted a normal life. Is that too much to ask? Are you going to ruin my life again? Go on, why don't you just kill me now? He froze, his hand slowly lowering. I instantly regretted it. I'd had a whole speech planned, and that's what came out. I took a deep breath and patted his shoulder. "I'll come see you every day." He crouched down and wept. Back then, I swore to myself they would never meet. Later, after I was laid off and spent more time at the workshop, our marriage grew distant, but Caleb's outburst stopped. But now they were meeting like this. Chloe tossed a stack of papers onto the table. Perfect timing. Signed the divorce agreement. I clenched my ghostly fists, then forced them to relax. Caleb suddenly stepped forward and wrapped his arms around her. "Let's start over, please. We can raise the child together." Chloe froze, then shoved him away. "God, you're pathetic." Caleb grabbed her hand and forced a ring onto her finger. His eyes were dark pools. "Are you really going to leave me?" She slapped him hard, her voice merciless. "The only way I'm not divorcing you is if you drop dead." She ripped the ring off and threw it on the floor. It broke in two, and my ashes spilled from the crack. Caleb carefully picked up the pieces. I'm sorry. My craftsmanship wasn't good enough." She thought he was apologizing to her, and her arrogance swelled. "Get out, and wait for my lawyer to serve you." Caleb cradled the broken ring, his head bowed. As Chloe turned her back, he discreetly planted a listening bug. A faint smile touched his lips. His voice was a low, raspy whisper. "You're going to regret this." Back in the dim workshop, the sounds of grunting and moaning filled the air from a speaker. "You're so bad, doing this while I'm pregnant." Chloe's voice was syrupy sweet. It made my blood boil. She was always so perfunctory with me. For years, she was always out at company dinners or bars at night. I barely ever saw her. "So what if you're pregnant? We were doing this before you were married." Mark grunted. "So, they've been together for a long time." "Huh. So why'd you pick him over me back then?" Mark huffed, the act apparently over. "I had to marry him to get leverage on him," she explained. "If I hadn't, I never would have found out about this little workshop he runs on the side. I reported him to corporate for moonlighting and poor performance. Got him laid off in a heartbeat. Otherwise, who knows how long I would have had to wait for that manager position. She giggled. I was stunned. It was her. She was behind it all. I used to blame myself, thinking she worked late all the time because I was neglecting her to take care of Caleb. But she had changed long ago. I was just clinging to a memory from her childhood. My efforts to help her at work had only fueled her ambition and turned me into a pawn in her game. One more round, her voice cooed. I'm tired, Mark said, his tone distracted. I was a ghost, yet I could feel the burn of betrayal. My knuckles cracked. I wished I could storm in there and strangle her. But as a spirit, I couldn't even haunt her dreams. Even if I were alive, I had already lost. Chloe paused. Who are you texting? Mark stammered, his voice distant. No one. I scoffed. Not even remarried, and there's already trouble in paradise. Ping. Caleb picked up his phone. I floated over to look. The text was from Mark. Just finished recording the video. I'll blur my own face out before I send it. $50,000, plus 50% of your divorce settlement. Not a penny less. There was another layer to this. I stared at my brother, who suddenly seemed like a stranger. He opened a drawer. It was filled with all kinds of surveillance equipment. Bugs, GPS trackers, hidden cameras. Many were labeled with my name, or the names of people I knew. I'm protecting you, brother. My hair stood on end. Suddenly, a fierce argument erupted from the speaker. You recorded me? Chloe's voice was sharp with terror. Yeah, what about it? If I don't get my 50 grand, I'm sending this to everyone. Mark roared, his greed escalating as he tried to play both sides. You're going to be a father. How could you do this to me? Chloe's voice broke. Who knows whose kid that is? The timeline's all wrong. Mark shot back. She started crying. That night of Ethan's layoff party. You gave me your hotel key card. That night, I was passed out drunk in the bathroom. I heard Ethan was the one who went looking for you. Mark blurted out. A jolt went through me. My child? Was my child? In the dead of night, a knock echoed at the workshop door. It was Chloe. It was the first time she had ever set foot in my world. She looked defeated. You said you would raise the child. Do you still mean it? She was looking for a lifeline. Too bad this was also the devil's lair. Caleb watched her with his dark, brooding eyes for a long moment. Then a slow smile spread across his face as he nodded. Raising you both. The very thought of it excites me. Then let's have a toast to our new beginning. Chloe took the glass he offered. They linked arms, and she drained it in one gulp. Ethan, help me, she started to say, but her words slurred as she slumped over, unconscious. In her sleep, Chloe's face was twisted in a painful grimace. When she woke up, she found the repaired ash ring superglued to her finger. On the table lay my cancer diagnosis. Chloe's hand trembled as she reached for it. Bang! The workshop door was thrown open. Mark Peterson stood there. Chloe went rigid. How did you find this place? Ha. Don't tell me you ran back to your husband for help. Mark's face was a cruel mask. Chloe had lost all her usual swagger, but she forced herself to reply. So what? Ethan and I aren't divorced yet. He's agreed to let me come back. She looked at Mark. That's the difference between you two. It's over, Mark. The man laughed and held up his phone. The screen showed a text conversation. Hey man, I'm divorcing my wife. Interested in making some cash? I'll buy the evidence of her cheating off you, so I can get a bigger settlement. $50,000. Meet at my workshop. The messages were sent from my account. Mark had agreed readily, even asking for more money. Seeing the setup, Chloe could barely stand. Mark laughed. I was just having some fun. I never thought that idiot Ethan would actually grow a spine. If I actually married you, you'd probably be in the CEO's bed by next year. 100 grand between the two of you? Think of how many girls I can get with that. He held out a flash drive in one hand and an open palm with the other. Where's the money? You bastard. Chloe slapped Mark and lunged for the drive. He grabbed her by the throat and slammed her onto the workbench. You think everyone's a weakling like your husband? One slap, and he can't even stand up? You believe I won't just take you right here, right now? Might as well get my money's worth. He used his free hand to rip at her clothes. Chloe struggled. Her calls for help choked and hoarse. Creak. The door to the back room opened and Caleb emerged, a pleading look on his face. Mark, buddy, my wife finally came back to me. Please let her go. Mark tightened his grip on Chloe's throat and yelled at Caleb. Didn't you tell me to come get my money today? If you two aren't getting divorced, where's my cash? Give it to me, or I'll strangle your wife and then kill you. Caleb held up his hands placatingly. No, no, no. The money's in the back. You can have the flash drive and destroy it, whatever you want. Pathetic coward, Mark spat, releasing Chloe and striding toward the back. Caleb followed, guiding him to the small living area. The cash is in the toilet tank, man, Caleb said with a servile grin. Creative hiding spot. Mark rushed into the bathroom and started fumbling with the toilet. Click. The bathroom door was locked. It took Mark a second to realize. Son of a bitch, you tricked me. He pounded on the door, cursing, while Caleb stood on the other side, smiling a chilling, silent smile. The old water heater began to hum, and scalding hot water sprayed from the shower head, drenching the small room. Mark screamed as the boiling water hit his skin. He scrambled to turn it off, but the knob wouldn't budge. The bathroom filled with thick steam. Gradually, Mark's screams faded into silence. Outside the door, Caleb's voice was a low, terrifying whisper, as if rising from the depths of hell. You like blowing smoke, don't you? Go on. Breathe deep. After some time, Caleb emerged and looked at Chloe with half-lidded eyes. Mark got his money. He said he was still a little worked up. He wants to sleep with you one more time before he'll give up the video. Chloe's eyes widened. And you agree? Caleb gave a slight nod. Her face fell. I knew you couldn't protect me. A muffled roar came from the back room. She flinched, then gritted her teeth and walked in. It's okay, Chloe. It doesn't matter. Just one more time. I'll still take care of you both, Caleb said as he watched her go, a cold smile playing on his lips. Chloe looked around the back room. Mark, are you in the shower? She hesitated, then tried to negotiate from outside the bathroom door. Since you got the 50 grand from Ethan, maybe you can cut me a break? I don't have much in my account, but I'll join you. We can have some fun. She opened the door. A man's corpse fell out, landing on her feet. A woman's scream of pure terror shattered the silence of the workshop. Caleb calmly pulled off a pair of gloves and switched off a small recording device, tossing them both into a furnace. His eyes were bloodshot. Brother, whether you forgive him is your business. I just sent him to see you. Tears streamed down my face. I opened my arms and wrapped them around him in a useless, spectral hug. In the distance, the wail of police sirens grew closer. When Chloe was released from police custody, she returned to the workshop in a daze. Caleb looked up, meeting her vacant stare with a soft chuckle. The sight of him made her snarl. It was you, wasn't it? Mark died of carbon monoxide poisoning, but how could my fingerprints be the only ones at the scene? Caleb stepped forward and gently tucked a stray piece of hair behind her ear. Don't overthink it. It was just an accident. She turned her head away from his touch, her gaze falling on the table. Her eyes snapped into focus. A termination letter from X-Corp. What? Why? Why would they fire me? Chloe's face turned ashen. The office called, wondering where you were. I took care of it, Caleb said. I was just trying to help. I told him you were helping me take orders here at my workshop. His lips brushed against her ear as he whispered, each word a cold stone. Now, you only have me. He inhaled the scent of her hair. The world outside is a dangerous place. It's so much better for you to stay home and focus on the baby. Chloe shoved him away and frantically tried to pull the ring off her finger, but the superglue held it fast to her skin. Tearing it only drew blood. The pain was sharp and searing. This is all your fault, she shrieked, overcome with frustration. I lost my job. You owe me this workshop. Write a will right now and leave it to me. Caleb stood motionless, as if considering her demand. Chloe, you have a good eye? I bought this place a long time ago. It's worth a pretty penny now. Her tone softened. Look, I know I made mistakes, but the baby is real. The baby is yours. Seeing him remain silent, she pressed on. You're dying. The baby and I will need this workshop to survive. She slapped her own face. I regret everything. I don't want a divorce. What a wonderful idea, Caleb said, as if a light bulb had just gone off. He pulled out a pen and paper and began to write a will. They started living together in a strange, tense peace. Every day, Caleb fed Chloe rich broths, imported delicacies, and high-protein jellies. She started gaining weight, her movements becoming sluggish. The dim light in the workshop began to affect her eyesight, and the constant dust dulled her sense of smell. The 3-month mark was approaching. Chloe couldn't help but smile to herself. One day, while helping Caleb, she saw a sketch for a life-sized wooden puppet on the workbench. "What's this for?" she asked, curious. Caleb lifted the lid of the large storage trunk she had been sleeping on. "It goes in here." Chloe peered inside. It was a human skeleton, crawling with maggots, bits of rotting flesh still clinging to the bones. The tattered, filthy clothes identified the remains immediately. It was Mark Peterson. She doubled over, vomiting violently, her voice trembling. "Why is Mark's body here?" Caleb looked at her with wide, innocent eyes. "After you were taken in for questioning, I heard he was from our old group home. No one claimed the body. I looked into it and realized he was the same kid who used to steal my toys, Marky P. He changed his name. You never told me. So I brought him home. Better late than never for you to know, right?" Chloe was still in shock. "Get him out of here. Get him out. It's disgusting. That would be too conspicuous." Caleb hefted the skeleton and casually tossed it onto the table saw. With a sickening whir, the skull split in two. Caleb smiled and fitted the pieces inside the wooden puppet's head. Chloe watched, her heart hammering against her ribs. That night, she slept on the worn-out sofa, tossing and turning. Caleb approached her, his long, bony fingers stroking her hair. "I'll take care of you, just like I took care of him." The next morning, Chloe woke up covered in scratches and bloody marks. "Police! I have to call the police!" she cried in terror. The police arrived at the now-spotless workshop. "I dreamed I was being dismembered, and I woke up like this. Someone is trying to hurt me." Chloe was a mess, her hair wild, her face slick with cold sweat. "Do you have any evidence?" A person of interest, an officer asked after hearing her story. I prayed Caleb wouldn't come back. But a moment later, he walked in, carrying a bag of breakfast. "Ethan, he holds a grudge," Chloe shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at Caleb. Facing the officer's questioning gaze, Caleb produced my death certificate and the urn of my ashes. "Ethan is dead. I'm his twin brother, Caleb Hayes." He turned to the officers. "After my brother died, my sister-in-law suffered a severe mental breakdown. To honor his final wishes, I'm in the process of applying to be her legal guardian." His words hit Chloe like a thunderclap. She snatched the death certificate from his hands and collapsed. "No, this is impossible. Impossible." The officer shook his head. "Our condolences." Caleb looked at Chloe with a sigh. "You're my only family now. I'm already being very generous. Because my brother, he died because of you." Click. The TV turned on, replaying the security footage of me collapsing in the hospital after her cruel words. The officer turned to Chloe, his expression stern. "You may be under investigation for negligent homicide. We'll need to look into this further." Before he could finish, a splash of crimson caught his eye. A pool of blood was spreading on the floor beneath Chloe. "Quick, get her to a hospital," the officer yelled. Caleb immediately scooped up the pale, unconscious Chloe and got into the police car. In the car, Chloe came to her senses. She lunged at Caleb, her hands clamping around his neck. "You son of a bitch, Caleb. You lied to me. You're not Ethan. The will is fake, and all this caring for me was fake." Her voice rose to a desperate scream. "But the baby is real." Her nails dug into his skin. "He's your brother's son. You have to promise me you'll save the baby. I'll let you raise him, I swear." A nearly imperceptible smile touched Caleb's lips. He leaned in and whispered in her ear, "That night of my brother's layoff party, I was the one who came to find you. I even printed up some little business cards for you, sent out a few invitations. Whose baby it is, I really have no idea." "You." Chloe's hands went limp, and she passed out. The baby didn't make it. In the hospital, Chloe's condition was volatile. On her good days, she was sullen and silent. On her bad days, she clawed at anyone who came near, earning the ire of nurses and other patients. That Chloe woman is crazy, but her brother-in-law is so devoted. I know, right? He's always trying to talk to her, and she just curses him out and throws the expensive food he brings her on the floor. Tisk TSK. Such a handsome, responsible young man, wasted on a lunatic sister-in-law. When Chloe overheard this, she would fly into another rage. Only she knew that when Caleb spoke to her so gently, the content of his words was anything but, "My dear sister-in-law, Did you enjoy the special ingredients in your gourmet meals? They really add to the flavor. Caleb pinched her mouth open and forced a piece of jelly down her throat. You need to eat these high-nutrient foods. Otherwise, your legs, your eyes, your nose, they'll fail much faster. He leaned closer. By the way, that smooth, reddish jelly you've been eating? It was quite difficult to procure. I heard the blood of a carbon monoxide victim turns that color when you add an alkaline solution. Chloe's furious expression morphed into one of horror. She jammed her fingers down her throat, retching until she brought up nothing but stomach acid. Caleb continued, as if talking to himself. The truth is, even though my brother hid it from me, I knew he was sick. I had planned to spend these last 3 months taking him traveling, seeing the world. But you ruined everything. My brother never even got to say a proper goodbye. As he grew agitated, he began to toy with the small file he always carried. Chloe, still gagging, looked at him with sheer terror. I watched, my ghostly heart pounding. Caleb pulled out a stack of papers and counted them in front of her. See, here are the results of your psychiatric evaluation. And this one? This is the document making me your legal guardian. Oh, and here's the victim impact statement I submitted to the police forgiving you. Chloe lunged for the papers, but Caleb simply covered her with a blanket and brought the file down hard on her thigh. She cried out in pain. Somebody, is anyone going to help me? No one even looked their way. They were used to her outbursts, her lies. Caleb calmly took out a block of wood and began to carve. Don't worry, I'm afraid you'll die too quickly. I have to try and restrain myself. It was then that Chloe truly understood. The one who was truly, profoundly insane was my brother, and he was taking his revenge on her. Over time, Chloe really did start to lose her mind. She would stare at the row of wooden puppets by her bed, all carved to look like me, unable to tell if it was me or my brother sitting beside her. Ethan, she would mumble, I'm sorry. We can have another child. Let's start over, okay? Of course not, Caleb would whisper back. One day, a voice came from the doorway. Excuse me, is Caleb Hayes here? A man in black-framed glasses walked in. That's me. Caleb shook his hand. The man handed him a business card. Hi, I'm David Chun, an agent with a digital talent agency. Caleb smiled politely. Yes, I submitted my portfolio to you online. You said you needed to verify my personal story, so I asked you to meet me here. David picked up one of the puppets. A DIY YouTuber carrying on his late brother's legacy. That's a fresh angle. I've already got the channel name picked out, Caleb said earnestly. Hayes handcrafted. I want the world to see my brother's work. And of course, I need the money. Just then, a moment of lucidity returned to Chloe. She saw the new face, and her eyes lit up with desperate hope. She pointed at Caleb. He's a psycho, a murderer. Grab him, get me out of here. She grabbed a puppet and hurled it at Caleb. It struck him on the forehead, raising a welt. David froze, stunned. Chloe sneered at Caleb. You want to be my guardian? Even if I'm insane, I'll drag you down with me. I'll haunt you for the rest of your life. I'll be the biggest scandal you ever have. Caleb remained calm. My crazy sister-in-law has commercial value. It'll win me a lot of sympathy from followers. When I eventually open an online store to sell my crafts, even more people will rush to support me. David slowly gave him a thumbs up. Deal. We'll set up your channel tomorrow. Back at the workshop, Caleb took out my toolbox, speaking as if I were there. Brother, she used you. Now it's my turn to use her. He wiped down each of my old tools, my treasures, and a tear fell onto the worn metal. I am sorry. I held you back. I have to stand on my own 2 feet now. Just wait a little longer. We'll have a good life together. A pang of pain went through my heart. I remembered him locked in the darkness of the group home, surviving on scraps. I had promised him, don't be afraid. One day, I'll make sure we both have a good life. I had broken that promise. I gathered all my spectral energy and managed to stir a small breeze, blowing a sketch from the table into his hand. After David's visit, Chloe's lucid moments became shorter and rarer. She began to plead, Ethan, let's just be together, like in the group home, okay? I'll stop making trouble. You stop torturing me. Let's just live peacefully, please. Caleb was peeling an apple, his face twisted with jealousy. The only one who got to be with my brother was me. If it weren't for him being so stubborn, if it weren't for me stepping aside, how could a filthy woman like you ever stand next to him? He wouldn't even grant you a divorce and death. Maybe he still wanted to be with you. His expression shifted to one of tragic finality. Look at your hand. In a way, I made his wish come true. Chloe stared blankly at the ring, and then a horrifying realization dawned on her. She screamed, "Are these Ethan's ashes?" Caleb smiled a ghostly smile. "Oh, it's not just on your hand. The pillow you sleep on, the blanket that covers you, even the water you drink. There's a little bit of him everywhere." Chloe's eyes went wide. With a guttural roar, she snatched the fruit knife from Caleb's hand and lunged, aiming for his heart. I cried out, trying to throw myself in front of him, but the blade passed through me and plunged into my brother's chest. Screams erupted in the hospital ward. Everyone turned to look. Time seemed to stop. Chloe stabbed him again and again. D, all of you just die." But there was no blood. The blade simply retracted back into the handle with each thrust. It was a toy prop knife. Caleb's laughter was wild and unhinged. "Did you really think I'd give you the chance? I'm just playing with you." He leaned close to her again. "You mess with my brother, you will never escape me." The focus in Chloe's eyes vanished completely. The face I once loved was now a canvas of madness and despair. She lost her balance and tumbled from the hospital bed. With a flick of his wrist, Caleb let the real fruit knife drop to the floor beside her. Doctors and nurses rushed in. Caleb put on a mask of shock. I had no idea her condition had deteriorated so badly. The lead doctor shook his head. "I'm sorry, Mr. Hayes, but we can't handle a patient this volatile. We recommend you transfer her to a specialized psychiatric facility." Chloe struggled and screamed, "No, I'm not going to a mental hospital. I'm not crazy. Caleb is the crazy one." Caleb knelt down, pretending to comfort her, and whispered so only she could hear, "I have a big game plan for you. I need to keep you somewhere safe." She fought for a moment longer, then went limp, tears streaming down her face. "I deserve this," she sobbed. "I deserve all of it. I should have been the one who died instead of Ethan." Chloe was committed to a high-security psychiatric hospital. She was there for 5 years. For 5 years, because she was classified as a high-risk patient, she received special attention. She was strapped to her bed for 16 hours a day. She ate, slept, and relieved herself all in one place. Her electroconvulsive therapy sessions were longer than anyone else's. In a way, it was a release. The treatment was aggressive, but she was grateful it wasn't Caleb administering it himself. The therapy eroded her memory, and she slowly forgot many things, her state stabilizing. Believing she was finally free from Caleb's grasp, her old personality began to return. She started boasting to the other patients. "What load of crap, that whole devoted brother act. As long as I'm in here, he can't touch me. I eat well. I sleep well. It's a better life than Ethan ever had." Then she discovered the tiny listening device sewn into the collar of her gown. That night, she was tormented by nightmares. The next morning, the nightmare became real. A nurse came to her room. "Chloe Reed, your guardian is checking you out." Chloe refused to go, cowering in the corner. A man's silhouette appeared at the end of the hall. "Wow, I can't believe a huge internet celebrity is visiting us." "Celebrity?" Chloe asked the nurse beside her. The nurse gave her a sideways glance. "Hayes Handcrafted has tens of millions of followers now. You're about to live the good life." "Handcrafted? He's a monster." "A monster," Chloe insisted. She held up her hand, showing the nurses the ash ring. "Look, this is him. He made a ring out of his brother's ashes and glued it to my hand. How can you people admire him?" The nurses exchanged strange looks. Custom ash jewelry is one of his signature products. It's very meaningful. My mom loved diamonds. When she died, I had to make me a custom ash diamond. It's beautiful. I just ordered one for my dog that passed away. Caleb walked slowly toward her. "It seems your mental state has improved significantly. Could you please help get her into the car?" When the nurses tried to grab her, she fought them off. "I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving." She saw Caleb approach and lunged at him. "I'm a registered psychiatric patient now. I could burn down your workshop, I could kill you, and I wouldn't be held responsible." Caleb's smile was mocking. "Now, that would be much more interesting. You being half crazy was boring. It's the guilt, the shame, the regret you feel when you're lucid. That's what's truly unbearable." She had no choice. She was forced into a car and driven to a vast cemetery. In the very center of the cemetery was my grave, surrounded by the small, unmarked graves of orphans. Caleb's security guards dragged her from the car and threw her down in front of my tombstone. She looked up and saw the life-sized wooden puppet of Mark Peterson kneeling beside my headstone. She began to tremble uncontrollably. Caleb lit incense for me, then forced her head down, so she was kneeling too. I worked my fingers to the bone for these 5 years. I took every order, shot every video, made every craft. Finally, I bought this entire cemetery. I did it so you too could spend the rest of your lives here, atoning for what you did to my brother, day and night. I looked at Chloe for the first time in years. In just 5 years, her hair had turned mostly gray. She looked decades older. Her eyes struggled to focus on my photograph. Her legs trembled beneath her. I once imagined us growing old together. I never imagined it would be like this. She began to slam her head against the ground in front of my grave, over and over, until her forehead was bleeding and her knees were raw. Caleb stood beside her, laughing, his voice rising to a hysterical pitch. I did it, brother. I trapped her here, by your side, to repent forever. Are you at peace now, brother? Are you whole? A single ray of sunlight broke through the clouds and fell upon him. The madman who once hid in the shadows was now standing in the light. And the arrogant woman who looked down on everyone was now the silent keeper of a grave. In the cemetery, Chloe ate wild berries and leftover offerings to survive. She drank rainwater from puddles. She tried to escape, but after painstakingly crawling to the perimeter wall, she found it was fortified like the enclosure for a dangerous animal at a zoo. Caleb's voice suddenly boomed from a hidden speaker above her. I'm live streaming you. Go on. Try something. Chloe finally broke, a torrent of rage and despair erupting from her in a primal scream. Yeah. She slammed her head into my tombstone, and at last she saw me. My spirit. Ethan, please, I'm begging you, take me with you. We were married. Please. I know I was wrong. This life, it's worse than death. Just let me die. She collapsed to my feet, sobbing. I finally made my decision. Without looking back, I kicked her away and began to float away. And behind me, I heard my brother's demonic voice. You think this is a fate worse than death? You don't get to die yet. Don't disturb my brother's peace.